Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. We got a special return guest. Got our buddy Tennessee Tony. How we doing today?
Good, man. Glad to be back on.
Yes, sir. Locking in on Tennessee, like the T-shirt there. Make sure
Yep.
to like and subscribe, help us out, and also share the video. It'd be great. Help us out. Jumping right into it, Georgia, Kent State, 39-22. To me, lackluster performance. They look a little lackadaisical in the second half. Not the standard to be number one. I thought they would actually drop. But Georgia wins 39-22, stalled out in the red zone. We had 3 turnovers, which were brutal in the first half. Lad McConkey, it's a Tennessee boy, right?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
He had fumble to return, muffed a punt, had another fumble, dropped a touchdown. Felt bad for the kid, but he had a terrible first half. I was yelling at TV saying bench him. But Kent State was able to run on us, had some interesting defensive fronts. Got a little nervous there for a little bit. It felt like a Mark Richt 12 o'clock noon game from back in the day. I don't know if they were just asleep. I heard the crowd. All the students left at halftime. But 39-22, I thought we might have dropped in the polls. We did not look like the number one team. But Bowers, as usual, did 77 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Hell, he might be our best running back at tight end. We're still not getting it going in the run game. We're a little weak there in our pass rush. I know Jalen Carter, 88's been a little banged up with an ankle injury. So if I had to get really nitpicky, I would say I'm worried about run game, worried about getting a pass rush. And then also we can't continue to have fake punts. That's back-to-back weeks where you've got fake punts, which you can look at as a turnover. So, I mean, we got the win. It was 12 o'clock game, but not where we want to be. But hopefully we can get going this week. What was your thoughts on the game, Tony? I know you were getting excited for the Tennessee-Florida game, but
I watched a little bit of it again. I was out of town and picked up some of where I was at. But I mean, I think it's with that one, I didn't think you guys would drop. I think it was probably just, maybe a lack of focus, which usually hadn't seen from Kirby Smart's team. But we've had some pretty good weeks, and I think it just, sometimes those early games, like you said, man, it's tough. The team to get up and everything like that. But the turnovers were probably the big difference in the game too, and also the red zone. Those are areas. Tennessee's doing well in both of those. Turnover margin plus I think we're number one in the SEC in red zone scoring. Hypo does a good job of that. So those are 2 key areas there that can like flip flop a game. You do that against a Tennessee, but you do that against a top tier team, and they'll take more advantage of it. So I don't really think you got much to worry about. I still think you're the best team in the country.
Right. I do. Speaking of that, I think we're like in the 60% on red zone, so we need to work in that. I think we're like mid to latter part in the country. So I know that was bad by Kirby, and I think it's lack of the run game, and then I don't know. I just feel like it's a struggle. I like Monk and our OC, best in the nation. So moving along to this week, we got Missouri this week, which is a good matchup for us. It was 29-point spread. I know they're kind of struggling. They kind of gave away their win last week to Auburn. I heard that was like a really painful game to watch. I just saw the highlights. And I know Harsin, smoking hot seat. He could probably get fired any week. I guess this is Eli Drinkwitz is the Missouri.
Yeah.
They did have a Luther Burton, was a big 5-star they kind of got from us. We were really after him last year. I think he's banged up and not going to play. But going on the road to Columbia, Missouri, I'm glad we're kind of getting out of Athens this week because of the hurricane coming in. But I want to get the running game started. That would be great. And I think they got one of the better defensive fronts on the rush. But their quarterback, I heard they're not the greatest offensive line. I like us to kind of roll in this to get back to going. I know Kenny McIntosh is banged up with a thigh contusion, is what Kirby calls it. Jalen Carter might not play with the ankle injury. I would say sit him. I don't think you really need him for down the stretch. And then I think we still got some wideouts, Arian Smith and A.D. Mitchell still kind of hurt with ankle injuries. But I'll give a quick prediction on this. I think I like 38-7. I think they probably get maybe a jump touchdown. But it's going to be a night game. I kind of like this as like a business trip for us, but kind of get in, get out. Hopefully, no injuries. I like 38-7. Do you know anything about Missouri, Tony?
Yeah, I think they're garbage. I think Drinkwitz is garbage. I think he's I was listening to his press conference from this weekend, and maybe it was Monday. His press conference was Monday, and he sounds like a Butch Jones. He sounds like somebody who's just making excuses, and he knows getting his butt handed to him. But he when he came in, he had a good first year, and he's kind of sank a little bit, man. And I think probably wise a lot of the competition has gotten better too, of who they played. I mean, so yeah, I don't think I think he'll probably be gone after this year. Maybe they give him one more year. I don't know. I know Harsin. They'll lose this weekend to A&M, and he'll be out. And that game last weekend was who wanted to lose it the worst. That's what that was. So there's two bad teams playing. It's crazy how Auburn slipped the way they have, but Tennessee did it too for many years, still trying to climb back.
Right. So yeah, I hope we get it going. Kind of got an easy schedule on the next 3 or 4 weeks. Best thing I heard is Kirby's gonna have to get the gospel and get them pumped up for the games. But I know we'll have a tough gauntlet with Florida, Tennessee, at Mississippi State, and at Kentucky. That's gonna be our tough stretch. So we'll see. I just hope we get a win and stay healthy. But going over to it, and then our buddy Tony here with the huge win, 38-33 win over his hated Florida. Watched this game back and forth. I know Tony texted me and said it took a couple of years off of his life, but the fact that you guys got the win finally, I think he lost 17. But how'd it feel to get the monkey off your back and the win for the program?
Man, honestly, it was such an emotional game as always is. I love those. It's a big reason why I love the college games is the suspense of it. But no, I felt good. I think if people saw the final score, they would think it was closer than what it was. Right. I think what Heupel did a bad decision is the last 2 drives, we basically were trying to play power football and run the ball. And Tennessee's not a team that our offensive line, while they've done well for what we do, they're not a team that's going to blow you off the ball. It doesn't matter who it is. And Florida's got some good defensive linemen. I think the things to take out from it, if we would have kept our game plan, we probably would have scored 45, maybe another touchdown, almost maybe could have got 50 on those 2 draws because they didn't stop us. We didn't punt the whole entire game. Wow. So we scored, basically every time we had the ball unless we turned the ball over, or a couple of times we had the ball and where Heupel, you could try a 45-yard field goal, but he'll go for it in those areas. Pretty aggressive. But I think Billy Napier was really aggressive. I think he was too aggressive, and it cost him the game with those extra points. But Anthony Richardson, of course, looked like a Heisman candidate, against us. But, our secondary is the thing that scares me. And honestly, I think there's some things you can teach in that zone defense. A lot of times they were, out of position to make the tackle in a zone defense, and they're just not at the right place. So I think you can teach that. But I think if you see a weak link from us, it is secondary. And that's why we recruited, we got a couple 4 and 5 stars, secondary cornerbacks committed to us this year. I think, one can't remember I think he's out of Texas that y'all were after maybe. But secondary is really what we need. Our front 7 is so much improved. I mean, we can stop the run with those, even with 5. I will say our defense, if we blitz aggressively and play man-to-man, we play a lot better. But I just think we were worried about blitzing Anthony Richardson and letting him take off and run all over the field. So I think we were just saying, hey, you just got to beat us with your arm and read the zones, and he did a good job of it.
Yeah, great win. I watched it. Got a little close there at the end. I wanted to ask, I know Cedric Tillman was out. How big of an impact do you think you would have made? He probably would have added another 100 yards and touchdown, or you kind of like where you guys at?
He would have taken away from Brew, probably what Brew got and probably what Ramel got. So, Brew would have probably had, I think he would probably had 60, 70, 80 yards, maybe something like that. And then, I think, probably Tillman would have probably got 100, I would think, how we run it. And then Jalen Hyatt. But I just think, man, the Heupel's offense is, I think I told you this other day we were talking, but we lost all 3 wide receivers last year, our starting receivers. That was all of our production. So except Tillman. Tillman came back, but we lost Velas Jones and we lost what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. but Javante Payton. And those were, Javante was a slot guy. And that was a lot of production. Velas was a slot guy. Javante was on the outside where Brew plays. So I just think he's a great play caller, man. And I think if we got good, decent receivers, he can get them open, get them in space. And that's what you see different with Tennessee now than what you didn't see in the past years with Butch. I mean, we'd have had Kamara in this offense and put him in the slot and players like we had back then instead of Butch coaching it, we'd have been no telling what we'd have done. So I'm excited about that, but I don't think Tillman would have made too much of a difference. I think it'd probably been about the same outcome. But it just gives you a comfort level that Heupel's offense is not one player that does it; it's a system, the way he runs it.
Right. How about running back wise? I mean, I watched more of your highlights, but this Jamari Small guy looks like he's been having some games, and Jalen Wright. You like where your running backs are?
Yeah, I mean honestly, it's. I think both those guys could play on any SEC teams. I don't think they'd be starters, so I think that's maybe another weak link, but it's not as weak as the secondary. We do got a freshman, Dylan Sampson. He was hurt. He made some great plays in fall camp, and he's actually run the ball. He's run the ball in all the games. Pittsburgh, he got hurt in Pittsburgh game, but he rolled his ankle. But he did. Of course, we played Ball State game 1, then we played Akron in game 3, and he ran the ball quite a bit. He's fast too. He's the fastest running back we have. And then we have another kid who's a freshman. I can't remember his name. He's got the kind of kids with the 2 last names or whatever. But I think he'll be pretty good. But running back something we haven't recruited as well either. If you look at it, we don't have as many top running backs want to come play for us. If I was a running back, I'd want to play because you get a lot where it's the way he spreads the ball, we're open a lot, and we run the ball 53% of the time. Oh, I looked up a stat. We are 21 for 21 in red zone, so we're 100% this year. Yeah, not even a field goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like Tennessee don't like the kickers this year, right? Don't like to place kickers.
No. I mean, our kicker, Chase McGrath. I mean, he's a good kicker. It's just
I understand you guys are that good. You don't like your.
No. I think Heupel he wants to score touchdowns, man. He wants to. He says he doesn't. It's funny. I think he's 10-1 when we score 38 points.
Wow. So
that's 10, and he's only been there 2 years. Yeah, how many games has he coached? Let's see.
Bowl game, maybe that was a shootout in the bowl game. Was that the one? Maybe
a lot of games last year at the end of the year were shootouts. A lot of them because we got tired. Yeah. That's the difference in us this year. I think our defense will be able to. A lot of games last year were just like the Florida game was.
Yeah.
And which scares me in a way, but. One thing too, I think I might have told you earlier this week, Tennessee's never going to be the team under Heupel, or Heupel's not going to be the team that's going to put out a defense out there like anything close to what you guys have or Bama has. That's just not Heupel. And if you look at it, our offense, like I said, we were 110th in the nation at let's see, we are time of possession. I think we're 7th. Let's see, what was the stat I was thinking about? 100, we're 110th in, I can't remember what it was. Oh, we're 110th in time of possession is what it is.
Right.
So that puts a lot of strain on your defense, so and it, in a lot of teams, what they're trying to do, and what Florida did at first is have those long drives where it keeps the offense off the field. But eventually we just started scoring every time we got the ball. And I knew that in the first half when he called that timeout, Napier did. I think there was under a minute left. And when he called that, I said, big mistake. I said, if we get a first down, Heupel's going to push it, and we did, and scored a touchdown, took the lead, and we got the ball back and drove down and scored a touchdown. I think that was a big difference. He made some dumb calls, man. I mean, I know he knew he had to be aggressive coming in, but that was like a lot of Butch Jones calls. I reference the dumb coaching moves to Butch.
Right. Or as way my buddy Uncle Lou calls it, Sunbelt Billy. That's what he calls him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I have a buddy of mine. He's a Florida fan. I think he's happy to see what he thinks was some. It's funny because two Florida fans said the same thing. They're happy to see the improvement against us. And then they'll take a loss. They were happy with the improvement, and I didn't tell them, but I think to myself, and I said, it sounds like a lot of what Tennessee fans said for years. A moral victory.
Right.
Oh, yeah. We're over that. We're over those. I don't know. I'll take another moral victory.
Yeah, great win for you guys. 4-0, top 10. That SEC shorts the other day where I had you guys coming in. What do you say?
That was hilarious.
2006 or whatever. No,
That
26.
was hilarious. Yeah.
That was good.
2006, the last time. Yeah, last time we were cracked in the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So great for you guys. I know we talked about the other day, Tennessee hopefully is close to being back. I know Texas is not back. So do you I know it's got kind of earlier, do you like the open week where it is? I think I asked you that earlier in the week, and then I was gonna say you got a little gauntlet coming up. So what's your thoughts on the schedule?
I mean, I'd like to see it come later, but think about it. If we didn't have an off week, we'd have LSU and Alabama next.
Right.
And we got to get some players healed up. Now, same thing happens. You play, week after week in football, you get bangs, nicks, and bruises. But I'm fine having that off week, and then we got LSU and then Alabama next. So I mean, we should be, somewhat healthy for LSU, and hopefully we can keep healthy for Alabama.
And I think you do, like you mentioned. I think you guys got a present having that one at 12, like you mentioned. It's gonna be 11 a.m. Then. I got a feeling you think that'll be 3:30, or what would you like that Bama game to be if you had to pick?
It'll be 3:30. I mean, even if we're a one-loss team, but if we're undefeated, they're undefeated. They're coming to Knoxville, right. And honestly, I'll give you a little what ahead of what I'm thinking. I think we beat LSU. I just think we're a better football team. I think they're still learning under Brian Kelly. I think they need to get the athletes like Brian Kelly has it. I like to run his offense. I mean, that's the way it is. But I think Alabama, if they think the Florida environment was crazy, which I didn't go, I wanted to go, but that game's going to be insane. And I think they're vulnerable. And they've gotten better. The last 2 weeks they've started looking a little more like Alabama. But I think, man, that like a buddy of mine who's an Alabama fan, I talked to him on the way back from Wilmington, and he said, dude, if a team can stretch the field against us like y'all can, play a little bit of defense on the run and stuff, he says you got a chance. And that's how we are. So I definitely think we have, a shot against Alabama. I think the rest of the season, I picked 9-3 to start the season. You guys, Alabama beat us, and then one other team. But now I really say 10-2, man. I think we can beat everybody on the schedule except maybe Alabama and you guys. So I'm really say 10-2. If we can get a bowl win, that's 11-2. 11-2 would be great. And that's Sugar Bowl. That'd probably be the Sugar Bowl then.
I'd say looking at Sugar, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be huge, man. And again, I wouldn't say Tennessee's back yet, but if we can finish 11-2 and, next year come in and have a good showing, replacing the talent we'll have to from next year, then you might say that we're on to something.
Yeah. And I think I know Kentucky will be a big game. I'm not sold on Kentucky yet. They kind of looked bad last week. I think they're getting Rodriguez back, but I'm still not quite sold on them. They have a tough game.
They do get Rodriguez back. So but I think they'll be healthy for us at that point, unless they have some injuries. But man, Kentucky's like we are to Florida. Doesn't matter how good they are, how much improvement they make. Seems like we always beat them and vice versa. So, but I think that one will be a good game. Actually, going up to that with a buddy of mine who's a Kentucky fan, and me and some other friends and staying up there in Knoxville or mountains a little bit that week. But I think we'll win it. It's in Knoxville. Crowd could be a top 10 matchup with Kentucky and Tennessee, which is crazy. I mean, Kentucky plays Ole Miss this weekend. They could lose that game, but and then maybe drop it. At least you'll see a top 15. We could still be in the top 10. I think if we lose to Bama, it
was close.
Yeah, well, if it's close, I think you still got to drop us. So I think at that point, depending on, if Kentucky loses this weekend, we move up. If we don't play, if somebody else falls, it depends on where we're at going into that game. But it could be a top 15 matchup, possibly if Kentucky wins and we win or have one loss. It could possibly be a top 10 matchup for us, which would be freaking crazy. Tennessee and Kentucky top 10.
Now, if y'all knock off Bama, woo!
If we knock off Bama, then that game in Athens is going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's November 5th, man, after we get back from Kentucky. But, man, I tell you, I don't see how we want to go to that. That would be, tickets would be asinine. They are this year. Tickets are crazy expensive this year, but that's going to be a fun one. But even if we have one loss, even if we have two losses, I just don't, it's funny because now I'm starting with Hyper to have confidence as a fan and watching us play that I expect to win these games.
Right.
And for a while it was like, you saw SEC teams, unless it was like Vandy or South Carolina or even, Missouri, sometimes Missouri, but you were like, you hope to win the game.
Right.
Now I expect to win them, and I expect us to give Alabama a game when they come to
Okay.
with 1 loss or 0 losses.
Right. I agree, man. I think you guys are definitely headed in the right direction. You got November 5th, man. You got me. I'm circling that one. Getting a little scared. I was worried about we got to go at Kentucky, but that's the game I'm a little worried about.
And that's probably going to be a 3:30 too. If you look at Tennessee's schedule, I mean, Alabama will probably be 3:30, Kentucky will probably be at 3:30. You guys will be at 3:30, and then the rest of them will be probably on SEC alternates. So,
Exactly.
and when we checkerboard Vandy out, that'll be nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah. My question on that, because I know that was a big talking point on a couple of the podcasts this week about, I think LSU got a little mad about next week when they play you guys. It's a 12 o'clock kick. And I think there was a stat where since 2005 or whatever, they've had 58 night games.
Yeah.
We had one of the lowest night games, which is fine. But what's your idea on like who should pick? I know it's usually all about TV, like who should get the certain things. Should they go by like ratings, or because it's important for fans, because there was like on Dog Nation, one of their busiest website or post when it comes out is when the game time is, because people like put their whole lives around, hey, 12 o'clock game, 3:30 game, night game. What's your thoughts on that?
No, for one, you're right. It's crazy. When I talk to people the same way, my weekends are planning on what time Tennessee kicks, so it's what time the game starts and of what I do Friday night and on Saturday. But Tennessee is weird because Tennessee's actually, the Pittsburgh game and the Florida game were the highest watched football games of this college football season. Both of them were Tennessee games. So I think people are, and I read an article where it's like people are tuning into Tennessee because people like to see scoring and excitement and offense. And I think you watch Tennessee. It's funny because I was down in Wilmington and watching the game, and my girl went to the bathroom and she went outside or something, came back and was like, we scored. She was like, I was gone for like 2 minutes. And I was like, I know, like we score that fast. So it's one of those things where, it's just exciting to watch them play finally. So as far as the ratings go, I don't know how you should pick it. It's going to get interesting once CBS, and we talked about this the other day, once they lose the SEC, but the 12 o'clock kicks should never be top teams, in my opinion.
Yeah,
the top team should be able to have 3:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock kickoffs or whatever, and have the pick at that. Putting a LSU and a top 10 Tennessee at 12 o'clock. I mean, come on, who's South Carolina playing, and where are they playing that day?
Yes,
I mean, I'd slap those suckers at 12 o'clock for the rest of the season.
they got 7 tonight because of hurricane, but yeah, we'll look at that real quick. I agree. Them and the Vans, you got to put them. Well, that week they got 7:30 in 2 weeks, so that y'all could have put that could have been you guys,
So that's Alabama in 2 weeks. That's what date is that? That's
you guys play LSU, so you guys
LSU.
Network,
so you got South Carolina, Kentucky at I mean, think about it. Who's going to watch something more, Tennessee versus LSU or South Carolina, Kentucky? Come on.
I think that's why LSU fans are pissed. Plus, the night game. LSU's crazy at night, but good for you.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've been there twice. Yeah, I've been to Baton Rouge twice. It's a crazy loud place, and I think they give the babies bourbon out of their bottles.
That's funny. All right, yeah, I can see that. Cajuns, man, they drink all year round.
Ages.
Yeah, man.
So,
go ahead. Real quick, looking at a little slate of games. Any interesting ones? I wanted to see. They got beat last week. If fighting Sam Pittman's got anything for Arkansas or got anything?
I think it'll be. I think they're tough, man. I think what's the spread on this game? It's 17.
17.
I would 17, right? That's what, yeah. I would take Arkansas with the points all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, I say 13. I say maybe something like 38-25, 38-24, somewhere in there. Right. I think that game's interesting, but I think the Ole Miss Kentucky game is going to be interesting also as far as SEC games go.
Yeah, on this one, like I really like Sam Pittman. They kind of gave that way. They should have beat Jimbo, and I want Jimbo to feel heat so bad. They've gotten lucky last couple of weeks, but
they're not letting him go. What is it? $90 million buyout. That dude.
I agree. I just want to hear him like I got all them 5 stars and I go 8-4. So that's why I want him to lose. That's me. Just with this, I heard only thing with Arkansas here, they got one of the worst secondaries, and I know if Bryce Young gets hot, but I hope they can hang around them. They made it a game last year. Arkansas pushed them. So
I think they say the secondary, and it's kind of misleading a little bit. Like Tennessee's stats, I think last week were a lot of them when we got the lead. And I mean, Anthony Richards still passed. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think I've watched some Arkansas games, and I think it's where they've gotten up and they've basically gone into like, softer zone coverage. And I think that's, the South Carolina that happened, and South Carolina Rattler made some decent passes in that game, but
right.
But yeah, this game I'm interested in. This is, and here's the thing: this is a 12 o'clock Saturday.
That's right.
That should be a night game.
Yeah, these 12 o'clock games, I don't know. Especially on the Grove too. It's early there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you think about from but yeah, but they ain't been doing nothing. You heard Lane Kiffin griping on his press conference about the crowd. I think he's quietly saying, or in an indirect way saying, I'm unhappy here. He don't feel like he's got a home field advantage. So I thought it was hilarious. I was like, somebody like him, I can't stand him either. Yeah. Despise the guy. And he's created his own environment he could have been Tennessee's coach if he'd have done things the right way, which I'm glad. I like Heupel. So things worked out the best, I think, in that.
It's interesting. Kentucky is the underdog. Ole Miss favored by 7, and then Ole Miss is kind of switching up, kind of running the ball a lot, and get a little bit of a defense. So this might be a slobber knocker.
Aren't they averaging 300 yards a game rushing?
They are. It's like nothing. It's not the typical Lane Kiffin offense.
Oh yeah, is that what they're averaging? No yards allowed. What are they averaging rushing? It seemed like that.
280.
280, yeah, so about 300 yards rushing a game. Yeah, that's not typical Lane Kiffin, but they got 2 pretty good running backs, man. I'm glad we don't play them this year, though. I don't know who I would have swapped off our schedule for them. Well, maybe swapped to Alabama, but of course they're fixed for our schedule. Excuse me.
And then I guess game day. Hopefully, it won't get rained out, but it's we'll touch on that one. Clemson at NC State.
NC State. Yeah, Clemson is right there to get upset.
Yeah.
And this is one I think that NC State can pull this off. They've like points per game there, NC State's, but now I can't remember who all NC State's played, but I remember looking at their points per game was up there of what they were scoring. But let's see, they hadn't really played anybody to this point either.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, I texted NC State buddy. He's a grad. He says they're gonna get exposed, but he's always salty on NC State. He don't believe in them.
So that's the thing. That's that's crazy. NC State's number 10, yeah. And and they really not beat anybody. Go through and look Kansas should be ranked in my opinion.
Yeah, Kansas to me is the most surprised. Lance, is it Leo Leupold?
Yeah,
might be a name. They need to Nebraska probably needs to look at him. I don't know, Auburn. He can win. He's not a flashy name, but he wins.
Nebraska's getting Urban Meyer.
There you go. Hey, Deion Sanders is gonna go to Georgia Tech or Auburn too.
I actually hope not, but I bet money you'll hear some Lane Kiffin to Auburn talks. I do see Deion going to a Georgia Tech. I don't see an SEC school taking he's been doing good, but I think it's a risk in a lot of ways with him not coaching at a bigger school. And Georgia Tech would be one that would probably go out on more limb than Auburn would. Auburn can't make enough. The thing about it is, and mark this down, I really do believe it, man, I told you this, but I think in a way, Napier is going to be the Pruitt of Tennessee.
In 3 years.
I think they're going the way they are. And I think that, or maybe the Butch, I might get one of those who just, you're going to see him play great games, and then you're going to be like, who the hell is this team? Yeah. And it's going to be one of those things where, well, not with Pruitt, with Bush, but Pruitt, we played bad about every game. We had a couple games we were all right, but that was a disaster. But I think Florida, especially what they just went through there with the higher, with the coach they just had, they may be going, hitting some spots where they could lose some, like Tennessee did. That's what happened, So I think a lot of these schools, man, you start making a bad coaching hire, it kind of spirals one after another. Y'all were lucky, to transition what y'all have done. I mean, Rick was a godsend after y'all had Donnan. Donnan was a disaster, and then y'all hired Rick, and he came to Knoxville in 2001, beat us his first year with David Green as a freshman. I lost a watch that day, so about cheering, and the watch came right off my arm. Never saw it again. So, but that's the thing, man. It's hiring the right coaches is so important. I mean, of course, that's common sense, but even if they're not a great coach, like Harson's a disaster, that's going to put them behind for a long time. So if they were to go out and hire like a Deion Sanders or something like that, that's not going to be good. That's stupid stuff like Tennessee's done. You can't do that. You're going to have to make more of maybe to kind of stabilize the program a little bit.
So if you're Auburn's AD, which I think they're looking for a new AD, or is that Georgia Tech? But anyway, who'd be a couple of names if you're like an Auburn fan or alumni, maybe from what you've heard for Auburn?
Yeah. I really haven't looked around the coaches this year who I think would move around. I know Lane Kiffin's not happy. I know Urban Meyer's out there. I mean, I wouldn't have him at my school, but I mean, I don't know. Where we were a lot of years, you ask Tennessee fans, we'd have probably taken a murderer off death row if he was a good football coach. He could get us back to the promised land. So a lot of these schools will sell their soul for it, and I think, I mean, hell, I would hate to see Urban Meyer at Auburn, but it would be fun. I mean, for the FCC, but so would a Lane Kiffin. I think, and also Lane Kiffin knows at Ole Miss with the NIL, he's not going to be able to compete at the level of what he can. So I think in a way, he wants to kind of try to find an exit route. I think he's unhappy there.
A name that I like that he's been quiet for a little while. How about if they can clean it up a little bit? Hey, Hugh Freeze. He can put up.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze, another one. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I think, man, you got to give the guy another chance. I mean, it's bad that you're calling prostitutes on companies.
Those burner phones.
Yeah, I mean, he's calling on a university given cell phone. He claims to be a Christian. So, but that's another story. But I think you got to give him another chance in the SEC. I mean, I would have accepted him at Tennessee. I think he's a darn good football coach. Yeah. He just made some mistakes, from that level. But you got to kind of monitor him a little bit in that aspect. And you can't just give him free reign of stuff like you could another coach that came in. You got to kind of maybe have a spy on him the whole time so know what he's doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he would be a good one, I think, because of Liberty. I mean, he's gonna get back in D1 ball,
right?
So,
yeah, and I guess the two names that I heard for Georgia Tech recently was I forgot his name, Coastal Carolina guy, which
yeah, I can't remember his name either, but yeah.
And then
because Coastal Carolina's undefeated now; they're 4-0.
Yeah, they had a good year. Forget the other name was an interesting one. So
yeah,
just don't get a triple option dude because I hate playing them dudes every year. Just anybody but him.
Triple option, man. I don't ever want to see it. We had Air Force in our schedule and we took them off, and everybody's like, why are we doing that? It's like, there's no need to play it. There's no need to play an option team. That's a good way to get hurt.
Blowing out knees.
Way, yeah, you got a game plan for that more than a week. I mean, they can cause you a lot of issues, So it's just not worth it, dude, to schedule those guys. I think the option should be banned in football.
Oh, yeah.
Too dangerous.
And really quick, check out Viva Seltzer. Introducing Viva Seltzer Delicious, inviting premium Blanco tequila. I drank one of these at our tailgate for the Georgia South Carolina game. I tasted the elderberry. So if you want to have it after 18 holes of golf, have it for the game. Elderberry, huckleberry, grapefruit, watermelon. Also, you can get 10% off their website with putting the discount code HUSTLE. So check out vivaseltzer.com. They're gracious enough to sponsor us. And also another quick shout out to Talking Dogs, which is a website we're able to post on. If you want any kind of merch, you can check out the coffee shop where they check out everything commit to the GM recruiting. They have a different forum film study. So check out anything about Talking Dogs. So check that out. And then Tony, anything else you wanted to get off your chest?
No, man. We're off week. It's a stress-free weekend of football. I hope everybody's good playing football. The hurricane, hope everybody's safe there and stuff like that. But we'll be back next week, and then looking forward to coming back on for the Georgia week too. Hopefully, we'll be undefeated. That would be nice, or one loss. It'd be a lot better than it has been in the past, so we can really get down to it. I know. I said last year, there's no way you guys would hold us under 30 points, and you guys held us to what was it? Was it 21 or 24? I think last year,
So
something there.
you guys scared?
Maybe it was 17.
Yeah, I think it's 41-17.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think this year we'll see, but we got a lot of time before we talk about that game. So let's get through the other ones. But I look forward to being on that week too.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on, and hopefully Georgia can get the win and get out of Missouri healthy, and go Dogs. And
I hope another Bulldog wins tonight, and they're actually playing now, South Carolina State. So I'm about to go watch them. Hope they can take down the Shamecocks.
There you go. Yeah, man.
All right, brother.
All right, bye. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. All right, bye.